We now move to the Vice Principal of the Gambia College, that is Madam Dow, to ask her this question. Now, what is the role of teachers in the meaningful inclusion of persons with disabilities in the education sector? Thank you.
I think when you ask the question and when you say what is the role of teachers, I think teachers are very important in everything that we do, be it persons with disability or persons without disability. I think teachers are always sort of the center of everything that we do because the teacher is the person who facilitates learning and facilitate learning for every individual. And the teacher is supposed to also be the role model for the children and also even for the adults and so on. So here, when we talk about the role of the teacher, especially when it comes to uh, persons with uh, persons with disability or inclusion, the teacher should be able to know his or her students and should be able to know how to give them the support, especially the necessary support. When it comes to persons with disability, the teacher should also be able to include that individual or support that individual in all activities. I think sometimes teachers have the challenge of knowing how to handle persons with disability. But then it should be the responsibility of the teacher to make sure that person with disability is just like any other normal child in the school system. That person should be catered for, should be included in activities, and should be given all the instructional materials and also the knowledge and the skills that that person needs. Unfortunately, we sometimes find teachers who have difficulties, who have challenge in handling persons with uh, uh, persons with special needs or persons with disability. And that is the reason why when you look at the Gambia College, we have always had this special needs module where all teachers who come into the Gambia College are given that module so that even if they uh, are not well versed in it, but they will be able to have a little knowledge or small knowledge of how to work with persons with disability and how to handle them, how to include them in activities and so on. Where we fail as teachers to make sure that we include or we take care of all our students, including persons with disability, then we are failing a part of the community, and that's a part of the population. Because the persons with disability, they are part of the society, and they also sort of form a percentage of our population. So we cannot ignore them. We cannot say, well, I have no idea or what to do and so on. We are the ones who should be able to include them in whatever we are doing. We are the ones who should treat them like any other person and so on with differences. But when you are treating, you treat with differences also. Because you cannot say whatever I give to Samba is what I'm going to give to Demba. No, it must be with differences. And here, when we talk about even treating them differently, even students or learners who do not have special needs should not even be treated the same way. There must be differences because people are at different levels. There are no two people who are the same. So we all are different, whether we have disabilities or we do not. We all are different and we need to be treated differently in whatever we do. So the teacher has a very important role because it's the teacher who should be able to support the person with disabilities or the person without disabilities. So if the support is lacking, then obviously there will be challenges when it comes to learning. So the role of the teacher is very important because the teacher is sort of the centerpiece. The teacher is the one behind all kind of how they call trainings and so on. It's the teacher who teaches everybody. There is this poem that goes that is I am a teacher, and it says behind every doctor there is a teacher, behind every lawyer there is a teacher, behind every this there is a teacher. So obviously, it's the teacher who is behind everyone. So for the persons with disability, the teacher should be the center and the person who should give all the necessary support. So I think the role of the teacher is important, and that is the reason why, as I said, in Gambia College we have that module on special needs, so that the students who come into Gambia College School of Education will all have a little knowledge of what disability is. We cannot give you all the models, but then we can give you something so that at least you will know how to take care of and how to support persons with disability. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Dow, for that wonderful response. Time now to go to our able minister, who is Honorable Sana, to answer this question. Honorable, what are some of the challenges that persons with disabilities face in the Gambia College in pursuing their career? Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable. That was a good one. We are now going to the third round of our question and answer session. And then now I will move to his worship, that is Magistrate Kurubali, and ask him this question. As the umbrella body of the several disabled organizations in the Gambia, what is the role of GFD when it comes to the meaningful inclusion of persons with disabilities in the education sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. This question is really a lovely one. Gambia Federation of the Disabled, established in the year 1990s, is the umbrella body of all organizations of persons with disabilities in the Gambia. Currently, there are 19 organizations of persons with disabilities who are legally registered under the Federation, and thus bona fide members of the Federation. You have the visually impaired organizations, GOVI, hard of hearing, GADHO, you have physically challenged, GAPC, GAPD, you have mentally disabled, that's the way they call it. AMDG, you have GOLD, that is dealing with learning difficulties, etc. So now, it is the Federation's objective to ensure respect, promotion, and protection of the fundamental rights, freedoms, and inherent dignity of persons with disabilities. If you look at Article 3 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and Section 4 of Persons with Disabilities Act 2021, they tell you that persons with disabilities have 7 principles which the umbrella body seeks to promote, seeks to respect, and seeks to protect, and of course called on every duty bearer to respect these principles. And these principles are: 1. Respect for individual autonomy, inherent dignity, and independence of persons with disabilities. Principle 2 is non-discrimination, meaning that no person or authority shall discriminate against persons with disabilities. And of course, this particular second principle has a constitutional force in Section 33 of the 1997 Constitution of the Gambia, which prohibits or forbids discrimination against Gambian citizens. And Gambian citizens include persons with disabilities. Principle 3 is accessibility. Madam Baji, Madam Dau, Honorable Sani have all mentioned accessibility, meaning that the physical environment, materials to be used by persons with disabilities, and of course, in particular here, I think we have faulted something. I don't think there's any sign language interpreter here. It's part of accessibility. Principle 4, equality of opportunities. That is, to make opportunity available to everybody without distinction or discrimination against anybody. For instance, I will make reference to Gambia College, and I know that is always the case in the positive. That when admissions are open, opportunity is extended to persons with disabilities, irrespective of your disability, perhaps. When scholarships are available, and I know persons with disabilities are included. And I think I should also be one of those who must also say, Madam Dow is always in the crusade championing equality of opportunities for persons with disabilities. Principle 4, respect for difference and acceptance of persons with disabilities in society as part of humanity and human diversity. Again, Madam Dow has earlier mentioned that we are always different. We cannot be the same. So disabilities are also different. Okay? Principle 6, equality between men and women. You see, persons with disabilities are championing the crusade, advocating for equality. So we are not selfish, but we say there should be this equal arms, or women and men shall be treated equally without distinction or discrimination. Principle 7. Respect for the evolving capacity of children, including respecting the rights of children with disabilities in order to preserve their identity. Children with disabilities are important. To be specific and in general, all children's rights, identities must be preserved because we know that we also always stand in parental position for children. So we should protect the children. I have been the chairperson of Children's Court. I will conclude by giving you two fundamental provisions. For instance, Section 17 of the Children's Act 2005 cautions that in any discussion in which there is a child or children involved, depending on the age and the majority or understanding of that particular child or children, their opinions should be given due weight. But don't look at them as children. Sometimes they think very wise and advance very good decisions. So the final provision is, for instance, Section 3 of the Children's Act 2005, which includes, of course, children with disabilities, in that any authority, any institution, or any person, whenever involving any issue pertaining to a particular child or children, must put into consideration the best interest of that particular child or children. So these are all issues that the Federation, as the umbrella federation of the disabled, is really protecting to ensuring inclusion of persons with disabilities in society, and as the preamble of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities restates that integrating persons with disabilities in all sectors is a relevant strategy for sustainable development. And remember that the Sustainable Development Agenda of 2030 is what? Leaving no one behind. So if we want to attain sustainable development, we have to include persons with disabilities in decision-making processes, programming, policy making, planning, etc. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Worship, Kurubali, for enlightening us of this very important issue. I understand that we are far into the time given to us. We will now, I will plead with my panelists to at least narrow down the answers that will be provided for questions I will pose on you. Time now to shift the attention to Madam Baji for this question I'm about to ask. What is the role of the ministry in ensuring that teachers are adequately capacitated on needs of persons with disabilities so as to realize their full potentials in the education sector? Thank you, Madam.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question. Um, like I said earlier, our directorate is an implementing office, it's an implementing unit. We implement policies, activities that are related to disability for persons with disability. So, in reaching out to persons with disabilities, we must first reach out to teachers. How do we capacitize these teachers to be able to handle the needs and welfare of persons with disabilities? Like you know, majority of activities from the ministry are donor driven. It's either UNICEF World Bank, GLF is the Gambia government funds anyway. So the activities that UNICEF fund for disability are many. But like when you look at yearly, we train mainstream teachers in the schools. We train them on inclusive practices, on how to support learners with special needs, right from the mainstream setting, the ECDs, and the madrasas. And looking at special needs education in the Gambia is a gray area. It's a very gray area, especially at the Gambia College here. Maybe that will come in with the challenges. If you have a question for me with regards to challenges, do you?
Sorry, can you come again?
I said maybe I would self that when I come to the challenges, if only you have a question for me with regards to challenges.
Okay.
Hmm?
Yes, you can go on then. Giving us.
Okay. So how do we capacitize teachers? We train them within the mainstream settings on how to help learners with special needs. Our training material content looks at different learners with disabilities, the different stages of disabilities, the different types of disabilities, the teaching strategies, the pedagogies that should be employed in teaching these children. Like, for instance, looking at children with intellectual and developmental disorders, what, what they are gaining in the Gambia is very limited compared to the sensory impairments. Which are the sensory impairments? Those are the visual, the hearing, and so on. But for intellectual and developmental disorders, they are disorders that have to do with the cognitive level of a child. Cognitive as in the mindset of the child. So many of these intellectual disability issues are either acquired or congenital, meaning a child is born with it. Now the severity will now also depend on the level of the impairment in the child. So for most of these learners to be able to help in the classroom, teachers must be okay with how to be able to help them. So maybe you people are on the verge of training to become teachers. But when you go through the regions, you will find out that a lot many teachers have been trained in special education. The training, however, should be ongoing, but due to limited funding, it's like the whole of this beginning of this year, we have not embarked on any training yet. But the training has to be ongoing. Training teachers in all levels of disabilities. How do they help the children in the classrooms? How do you set your questions? How do you involve every learner in the classroom? Mark you are going to become teachers in the classroom. You will have different kind of children in your classrooms. Like how we are also different here. Many of these children would learn by just listening.
Yes, continue.
Anyway, it's more like an icebreaker. Hello. The mic is not working. Okay. Can we continue? Like I said, I don't want it to look like a lecture anyway, but I would have to put you through issues of my main area of is areas like intellectual disabilities. When you look at some of these disabilities are very visible. A person that has visual impairment can easily be noticed. Not true. A child that has hearing impairment, you can be able to observe and understand if you know all the steps and all the types you look out, the signs and symptoms you look out for. But looking at this particular group of children with intellectual disabilities, they find it very difficult to be able to help in the classroom setting. So our training is geared towards the types of disabilities. Like for instance, looking at Down syndrome, you have children with Down syndrome. Maybe you know about Down syndrome. You have children with ADHD, those are attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. You have children with autism, those are within the autism spectrum disorders. Children go through what we call emotional issues, like Madam, is it Salah? Madam Sala spoke earlier here about stress, anxiety, depression, and other things. You are training to become teachers tomorrow. You are going to come across a lot many of children in the classrooms that either withdraw during the classroom lessons or find activities that are pleasurable to be not pleasurable anymore. So you will have to deal with these learners. You are number one, an educator as a teacher. Number two, as a guider in the classroom. Number three, you have to be a counselor in that classroom. So you are going to wear many caps in that classroom. How do you identify those children? You don't only carry your boat like you are in the river or in the ocean. Your boat will carry only the intelligent children. Teacher, do you understand? Teacher will ask, do you understand? Yes. So a lot many of these children will say yes, but they don't even understand what you are asking for. So when you are dealing with children that have cognitive issues, you look at their mental age against their chronological age as teachers. So these are the issues we teach many of these teachers. A child can be 20 years old in the classroom and be behaving like a 5-year-old child. Do not judge that, do not attack that child based on the child's 20-year-old age. Teach the child with that 5-year age that you have observed. Again, the gifted and the talented, they are also a group of special needs children in the classroom because they are very gifted, they are very talented, they are classed as special needs children. Why? Because you, the classroom teacher, can be able to challenge them to an extent they can be able to cope in your classroom. But if not, they will find your classroom very useless. Most of them are the ones that you will find in the field. Whilst the classroom is going on, most of them are playing football. Or they will jump the fence and even disappear to the market areas. I normally ask this question during my sessions. Have you ever seen an armed robber that is stupid? Have you ever seen a stupid armed robber? So most of these children are the ones that we send out of our classrooms during our lessons. You will have a very intelligent child in the classroom, sorry. All that child does in the classroom is to challenge you, the teacher. But you, the teacher, you have to know the strategies in place to be able to handle that child. How do you know that? Because once your class is boring, that child will not cope. How do you challenge that child? It's either by giving that child challenging tasks. So each individual child in the classroom has his or her own level in that class. So this is how we teach them. We want to teach you classroom teachers to be able to handle these children. I don't know if I have answered you.
Yeah, thank you so much, madam. Time now to ask Madam Dow this question, and this will be the last round of our question and answer session because 5 minutes will be given to the audience as well to ask the panelists in case they have a question. We are running out of time, so we have to pass that. Madam, what do you think should be done for the realization of meaningful inclusion of persons with disabilities in our education sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've been talking about it. Uh, for inclusion, I think the policies must be there, the activities must be there, and there must also be the political will. But where we have all the policies, we have all the programs, and there is no political will, it will not work. So the political will must be there. And here all stakeholders must be involved. That is both the ministries, the teacher training colleges, the schools, and even parents of persons with disability and so on. So it's a collective effort. It should be a collective effort where all hands are put together. But then I think the most important thing here is the political will. Without the political will, nothing can happen. Well, all these challenges we are talking about is because maybe the political will is still lacking. But if the political will was there and is there 100%, then obviously we would not be having all of these challenges and so on. So I think to just make it short, the political will, but then all stakeholders also must be included in whatever we do. Here we look at the ministry, we look at the teacher training institution, the schools, the parents, and all other stakeholders, finance, and all other stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Time now to go to the Honorable Minister Officer, that is Honorable Babakar Sane. Based on the challenges that you have highlighted previously, what do you think are the solutions to those problems mentioned? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think Madam have dealt with the solutions. The stakeholders have to be involved, have to realize these challenges, and they must be committed to ensure that we end some of these challenges. But as well, the political will, because college as an institution might not have the finances to ensure that there is accessibility within the ground. College as an institution might not have the right resources to ensure that lecturers, officers are adequately trained to become people who will be assisting persons with disabilities on their needs. So the political will have to be there to ensure that all these resources are available, but also there is a special program for special needs so that there will be people who are experts in this area to be able to assist persons with disabilities on their need. So the political will is very, very much important in this aspect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for that wonderful response. Now I will um, give the audience the chance to come in and then ask three questions in case they have. We have 5 minutes to do that. If you have any questions with regards to what is discussed here, you can come forward and then ask the questions, and the panelists um, will help us understand or answer the questions that will come from the audience. So the floor is yours. If you want to answer, ask any question, sorry, you can come forward. Otherwise, we will, yes, if you have any question, let me know. It appears that nobody wants, or there is no question for the audience or the panelists, sorry. So now what I will do is, I will now give the mic to the magistrate to give us a closing remark in a form of advising us as audience in how to handle persons with disabilities. Generally, your worship, you can advise the audience and ourselves here on things that are related to persons with disabilities in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Um, the first advice goes to the stakeholders, in particular duty bearers. It is common sense that laws, policies need to be respected and upheld by all. The rights of persons with disabilities must not be violated by any institution, by any authority, or by any individual. Instead, the rights of persons with disabilities must be respected, must be adhered to as cautioned by laws. What is the effect of disobeying laws? Is either imprisonment, that is to go to jail, or to pay a fine, or the law will force you to do what it asks you to do. There is this mantra: ignorance of laws is not an excuse. Ignorance of laws is not an excuse. You cannot violate the rights of persons with disabilities, and when you are taken to court as an institution or individual, you say, I don't know it, that's why. Come on. Ignorance of law is not an excuse. And remember that the rights of persons with disabilities are protected and guaranteed by laws. So let's be careful. Consider persons with disabilities as human beings and not to discriminate against persons with disabilities. My two final advice is that Section 6 of Persons with Disabilities Act 2021 and Article 4 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities call on the Gambia government to ensure the full and effective implementation and realization of all the fundamental rights of persons with disabilities as in our laws, and also to refrain from doing any other thing that will tend to discriminate the rights of persons with disabilities. Let's stay away from any action or from any utterance or behavior that will tend to discriminate the rights of persons with disabilities. And let's also harmonize laws and consider best practices that tend to promote the fundamental rights of persons with disabilities. Finally, remember I told you that disobeying laws tantamounts to be sent to jail or to pay a fine or to force you to do what the law asks you to do. But now, our own disability law, which is called Persons with Disabilities Act 2021, has given advice. Section 71 of Persons with Disabilities Act 2021. Please, I am quoting the disability law of the Gambia so that you will be careful or mindful not to violate our rights. Section 71 states that if any school or institution is able to deny a person with disability from acquiring education in school, that particular school or individual will pay $100,000. If you are an individual, you will pay the $100,000 or go to jail for 6 months, and or you will go to jail for 6 months and again pay a fine of $100,000. Remember, the economy is very hard. And still, the same Section 71 states that if any institution or individual denies persons with disabilities their right to education, again is bound to pay $50,000 if you are an individual, or go to jail for 6 months, or you go to jail for 6 months and again pay $50,000. And I know that we all do not want to violate our disability law, and we know that we will not want to pay this fine or go to jail. So the question is, are we ready to respect, promote, and protect the rights of persons with disabilities? Are we ready? Good luck with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship Magistrate Kurubali, for giving us that wonderful advice. I think with the advice made by the magistrate, we will all be careful in our dealings with persons with disabilities so as not to do anything that is against their right, for which you can be sent to jail or be liable to pay a substantial amount of money. So before we start the discussion, I gave you this assurance that you are going to learn a lot from my panelists. And now I am vindicated. I can stand here and see, or I'm convinced to see, that you have learned a lot from this discussion. Now I will not do anything but to release my panelists, and in doing so, I will solely want you people to give them a round of applause as they are leaving the seat. Thank you so much.